Hello, guys. Oh my god, I've been wanting to do that for quite some time. Okay, my name is TK, as in T and K. On this channel, we'll be talking about all things travel and culture, and this is my very first video. I'm so excited about that. I reside in Johannesburg, South Africa, and in this video I'll share with you guys on the 8-day solo vacation that I just undertook in April of 2022 to Zanzibar, whether it was the best decision for me to take it as a solo vacation or should I have taken a friend. Stay tuned until the end to get the answer to that question. The topics that I'll be covering in this video are as follows. Firstly, why Zanzibar? Secondly, the flights to Zanzibar, that is from South Africa to Zanzibar. Thirdly, the accommodation in Zanzibar, the transportation within Zanzibar, the food of Zanzibar, the beautiful beaches of Zanzibar, and lastly, I will answer the question, was it the best decision for me to take it as a solo vacation or should I have taken a friend? Stay tuned. Okay, the first question that we'll be answering is why Zanzibar? So Zanzibar was not at the top of my list for the year of 2022, but it was one of the countries that I've wanted to visit. So I actually wanted to go to an European country, but because of the COVID cases and the many restrictions, I was like, no girl, you're not doing that. So I just pulled up my list. So I always have a list of countries that I want to visit. Then I started doing my research in terms of the COVID cases. And I found out that actually Zanzibar will be the best choice for me. The COVID cases were very low in the month of April. I think it was like about 5 cases per day, at most 20 cases per day. And the other advantage is that there is no visa required for South Africans. Then I was like, woo, that is the best country for me to visit. Then I was like, I think I made the decision a week before the trip. Okay, let's talk about flights to Zanzibar, Tanzania. So I'm well aware of 3 options available. The first option is Kenya Airways. The second option is Ethiopian Airways. And the third option is charter flights. So charter flights are mostly available if one is using agencies. The advantages of charter flights is that they are much more faster. So it can take about 4 to 5 hours at most because there are direct flights. So when I started wanting to book flights, I first went to Kenya Airways because I've got friends in Kenya and the brand clicks more to me. I went to Kenya Airways, but I realized that the dates they have available is not matching with the dates that I'm wanting to fly to Zanzibar. So then I now went to Ethiopian Airways. It was a good match. I booked my flight with them. So I departed OR Tambo, just here. Guys, I'm saying here because I'm close to the airport. I departed OR Tambo at 11:30 in the evening, and we arrived in Addis Ababa at 5:30 in the morning. So Ethiopian Airways has a stopover in Addis Ababa. We had a layover of about 3 to 4 hours because the next flight departing to Zanzibar was at 10 a.m. in the morning. So how it previously used to work is that from Addis Ababa, it will go to Kilimanjaro. Then from Kilimanjaro, it will now go to Zanzibar. Those who are left over will now drop off at Zanzibar. But now it has switched around. What happens is that from Addis Ababa, it now goes to Zanzibar, and those who are left over will now get off at Mount Kilimanjaro. So I arrived at Zanzibar at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I arrived, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like I literally couldn't breathe properly because the air was so hot. The air was so humid when I arrived in Zanzibar. So that was my first experience when I arrived. They're like, oh my God, what have I done? let's talk about accommodation inside of Zanzibar. But before we do that, maybe let's just give a brief history of Zanzibar. Okay, let's clear this out. Zanzibar is not a country on its own. Zanzibar falls under Tanzania. The name of the country is Tanzania. So Tanzania is falls just below the equator. We know the equator, that imaginary line on the map, and it borders Uganda to the north, it borders Kenya to the northeast, and then it borders Malawi and Mozambique to the south. The biggest landmark of Tanzania is Mount Kilimanjaro. The most spoken language in Tanzania is Swahili. Actually, it's an official language. The official language of Tanzania is Swahili. The religious proportion is, I think, about 69% Christianity, but Christianity is mostly found in the mainland, Dar es Salaam side, and about 30 something percent is Islam. So you mostly found Islam in the islands. That is where I visited myself. Let's talk about accommodation in Zanzibar. So most people, when they visit Zanzibar, they want to see the following areas. So most people want to see Stone Town, which is mostly popular for the airlies. You find your prison island. There's actually a lot of activities in Zanzibar. It will just depend what kind of a person you are. So at the end of this video, I'll just link some clips of some of the activities that I've done. So people mostly visit Stone Town. Secondly, after visiting Stone Town, so they spend about 2 days in Stone Town, they will now move on to the beaches. So there is beaches to the north of Zanzibar. That is where you find Nungi and Kwenta. There's also beaches to the east of Zanzibar. That's where you find Pache. Then there are some people who also want to see the mainland. So the mainland, that's where you find Dar es Salaam side. But to move from Zanzibar to the mainland, because there is water in between, you have to use a ferry. Myself, I spent 2 days in Stone Town. I booked in a hostel. I love hostels when I'm traveling solo because you get to meet different people from different countries. You get to socialize and learn more about people. So I mostly book into hostels when I'm traveling solo. So I booked into a hostel called Lost and Found, centrally located in Stone Town. Very good. I spent 2 days there. Then I now moved on to the beach side. That is north of Zanzibar. I think traveling time is about 2 hours. So 2 hours, that's where I spent the rest of my 6 days. And I spent it in a hostel. I get very beautiful hostel called Makufe. It also offered breakfast. I made a lot of new friends. Transportation inside Zanzibar. So normally tourists are advised to use private hire. Private hire is expensive, but there are other means of transport one can use. The most recommended for tourists is private hire. Secondly, there is what they call daladala. So daladala is like a normal taxi within Zanzibar. Well, the disadvantage of a daladala is that the official language, or most people speak Swahili and not English. So one finds it very hard to communicate when using a daladala, but it's actually much more cheaper to use a daladala. And if you are traveling short distances, there's what they call a tuk-tuk. So a tuk-tuk is just a scooter to take you from one place, maybe 5 minutes away or 10 minutes away from where you're going. So when I was moving from Stone Town going to the north of Zanzibar to the beaches, I used a private hire. As I said, it's expensive, but because of the language barrier, I was going to try a daladala, but I was like, the language barrier here is so huge. I don't think that I will cope with getting from here to Nungi, which is about a 2-hour drive. The food of Zanzibar. When I came back, I was telling one of my friends that I think my taste buds have been tampered with, because I felt like the spices of Zanzibar, like they are heightened, because they've got a spice farm, so they use the raw ingredients when they cook the food. So if you're smelling something, the smell is so heightened, and it's not similar to what I'm used to in South Africa, but the food I enjoyed in Zanzibar. I was like, I wanted to eat everything until my stomach was even upset. There was a day that I couldn't even go out because I was lying in bed. I was having cramps and stuff like that from eating too much. But the food is to die for. There is a variety of dishes that one can choose for, and since it's a coastal area, there's a lot of fish, different kinds of fishes that you can taste. So with the food, they get a 10 out of 10 out of me. The beaches of Zanzibar are as magnificent as you see them from the pictures. Like, that's what we all go for. It's something out of this world. Whether it's a beach in Stone Town, whether it's a beach in Baje, whether it's a beach in Nungi or Kwenda, there's just something special about the beaches in Zanzibar. And the shells, I picked a lot of shells. I came back with a lot of shells. But just one thing that is worth mentioning is that Zanzibar, the beaches are actually close to rural areas. So we take the pictures in the beaches and show the beaches, but it's the actual area is a bit rural. Coming to the end of this video to answer the main question, was it the best decision for me to take a solo trip to Zanzibar, or should I have waited for my friends and took the trip with them? My answer is I should have gone with a friend. Reason being is that when you go to Zanzibar, when you go to the beaches, so the main activity in Zanzibar is tourists. So most businesses, if not 90 to 95% of the businesses, around tourists. So when you get to the beach, everyone is trying to sell you something. Even when you ask for a photo from someone is expecting something in return. When you buy something from someone, you're not even sure if that's the actual price. So let me give you an example of what happened to me. I'll put it in South African rand so that I can explain it better. So for example, someone was trying to sell me something. Well, they started and they said 200 rands, but I was like, that is not worth 200 rands. I'll pay 100 rands for it. And the person was like, okay, pay 100 rands. And then I was like, maybe I actually don't need that. Let me just leave it alone. As I was walking away, the guy came back to me and said, take it for 50 rands. So, it was frustrating for me in terms of always have to be negotiating for prices. But the actual trip to Zanzibar was like fabulous, was magnificent. Like, I would repeat it over and over again. But next time going there, I would rather go with someone. I think the experience will be better in terms of when you're with someone, whether you want to take pictures, whether you want to go to a restaurant, whether you want to buy something, it's always better when you're with someone you can communicate with. Oh, that's what I think. So that is my answer to the title of this video. I would prefer next time when I go to Zanzibar to go with a friend. Thank you everyone for staying until the end of this video. Do the right thing, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.